Hey guys, Baduk here again with another daily Go video. In today's video, we're going to go over something you guys asked for in the comments, I think, which is how to deal with black kicking and pincering right away your approach move against the 4/4 points. Pretty greedy, right? Black's trying to take everything and give white nothing. So how do we deal with this? Yeah, I'm going to show you guys three main powerful methods to deal with it, starting with a classic one, which I recommend you to start with. But first, let me just make a quick mention of Benkyo League. So Benkyo League is $25 a month through my Patreon, tier 3 or higher. And it comes with quite a lot of benefits that I highly recommend players of any level up to around 3 dan or so OGS to consider. In fact, we even have some players stronger than 3 dan OGS currently here. But even if you're relatively beginner or like 18Q, 15Q, in fact, we're looking for more DDKs. We have plenty, but we want more. So Benkyo League gets you league play, main league, title tournament, side events, lots of good stuff. It works great for busy people and for people who want to play a lot. There's no game quota. You can play 0 games in a month or 2 or 5 or 50. We also have easy scheduling and we're international. You get prizes in the main league, and even losses give you points towards those prizes, which are lesson time with me. So even if you lost all your games, sometimes that means you get a prize because participation is really the main way to get that lesson prize, since not everyone always plays all their games. Yeah, so you get that. You also get a guaranteed 1 or more game reviews from me per month. And you can get, you can request game reviews from stronger members. So it's a very, very wholesome community that lives and breathes like 24/7. And just, it's like a family, you know, we're all friends there helping each other. It's really a lot of fun. So it's a sub community, you know, the paid Benkyo League community within the Discord, which is discord.gg/BenkyoBaduk. All of those links, of course, you can find in the description. And if you're interested specifically in one-on-one lessons with me, of course, I've got the links up on the video, so I would check those out. And without further ado, let's get into this. So the first method I'm going to show is to attach here and extend. So first of all, if black just connects, you can even just play something like this to make sure that you don't get cut. And so even if black plays here, you could start attacking this one. And that's generally going to be fine. You could play here, but you need to be like cognizant of the fact that black could push and cut here. And in general, except the cases in general in Go where you think that you need to take the liberty away, like maybe there's like a push and cut here or something that, you know, this liberty matters or it affects the life and death, but here it doesn't. So right now, there's no point blocking directly and letting black cut here, right? To make this empty triangle here, which is bad, right? When you could extend once. So you should extend once and then let black cut. So now you're able to let your weaker side kind of elongate more, right? Now it's like 3 stones. So it's 3 stones and it's like 3 and 3, right? As opposed to being like this and then this side looks especially weak. And something to notice is that when black is doing these push and cut sequences, notice that these 2 black stones are just neutral points that have no value, right? Only the cut is giving value. So the more moves you make your opponent spend to cut you, the better, because your stones on the outside are useful and these are just neutral points that are just nothing, right? Not to mention avoiding empty triangles, so avoiding this shape. So imagine that it's more like something like this, or let's say like this, then you would even go twice like this, right, to avoid this empty triangle shape, and then they cut you, and then we have white as good shape. So that's a general Go tip that I think is very important for you guys to think about. Yeah, so keep in mind here that if you play like this, white could push and cut. So of course black, white could fight this, but just keep that in mind that it could happen. Yeah, but white can definitely do this fight. So that's possible too. Most of the time your opponents are going to push here. That's very common that I see. And so that's where this classic method comes. So it's going to be this cut. Now, first of all, make sure you don't play like this. This is actually going to make the corner totally clean and not invadable anymore. And now if you cut, they're just going to Atari from this side and you don't get anything. You don't get any real good forcing moves now. And the cut doesn't really do anything. And you'll see the comparison later. But you also lost your 3-3 invasion, which is actually here, right? It's even peeping this cut. And then if they connect, you could play here. You can check out the last videos to understand a bit about this combination. But yeah, this is a terrible exchange. For example, something I see a lot. So you guys definitely have this shape coming up a lot in your games. I think most of you, you or your opponent would make this shape sometimes. It's a very common shape, and there's actually some pretty strong Aji in the corner still. Of course, the last video I posted that you guys can check out, of course, is how to do this invasion as black and how to respond as white, right? Which spoiler is this, but I also give you all the Joseki from here, and also like when is it better to invade versus like approach. So I would check out that video if I were you guys. So this one can just live, but this one you cannot just live, right? You usually need some setup as black to make this work, but the Aji is very strong, so this is not territory. So if you guys want a video on that, just let me know. But what I see a lot is people making like this exchange, right? At some point in the game, or like playing hane and Atari. It's very, very good for white. So don't do this as black. Even if later on it's like late in the game and this hane and connect is actually big, don't do the Atari. This Atari. Yeah, it looks like you're making white fill up one more point, but you're actually giving white points. First of all, if you just connect later on, there's sometimes Aji of like clamp and peep and making things happen. Sometimes like you might need some special support here or out here, but sometimes you can make something happen. For example, if this push and cut does something, or maybe if you have some special attach combo here, like there's a lot of ways that this could work. And not to mention when you hane here, although it's not always the best choice for black to do this cut, but you guys might not realize that actually in this position, because black has not Atari'd here, this cut can actually live in the corner. So like this and like this and this and that. Obviously white could do this and make it a ko, or black could Atari here first, and then maybe it's ko like this, or white connects and then anyway alive. So either way, if white just goes along with everything, it's alive. Even if white plays like this, black can hane and just have two eyes. So that's pretty cool, right? Many of you probably didn't realize that that white has to actually hesitate before doing this Atari. Normally this is a shape where it would just go like this, but yeah. Keep in mind that if you play this as black, you do actually lose some points on the edge over here, because like white can push and you can't really block it. So it's not always a good idea for black, but it's pretty cool. That means that if white wants to avoid, white would have to back off, and then white would lose more points. So this Atari seems to make white lose another point, but it actually makes white gain points. So don't do it. Yeah. And especially just anyway, anything that completely gets rid of this 3-3 invasion Aji without anything in return, like besides just a stone there, like that's not worth it. Don't do it. Even if you don't know how to invade it, like let your opponent worry, right? And then if you're losing later on in the game, you could try it as a last ditch effort, right? It's so much better than doing that terrible exchange. There's also this attach and peep. Let me know if you guys want a video on that. It's actually ladder related, which is a ladder that is gonna be here, but I'll show you guys all about that, as well as how white deals with it when white doesn't have the ladder, which is like this empty triangle move, funny enough, but yeah. So I can give you guys a video on that if you like. Going back to this, let's get focused now on the main thing. But I just wanted to make you guys truly understand before we go forward how bad of an exchange this would be. Now black has a 16-point corner already with no invasion Aji at all, and also a stone here, right? White pretty much has to extend, and then like black is just looking great, I think. So Yeah, so don't do this. Even though you want to fix your cuts, don't do this. Yeah. So I recommend cut, and this is how it works. Right now, if black Atari's this way, black actually dies. So something like this, even if black wedges because of this thing being self-Atari, you're just going to double Atari here, and then black's going to be dead. So black Atarying this way is actually sacrifice, which means white is awesome. Black owes a move on this side, and then this stone is in a weird spot. No longer able to attack this group, and not positioned very well for taking territory, right? Even if black plays here, white has the slide under later. So it's a terrible position when it comes to territory. So yeah. So black has to Atari this way. So that's why earlier, that's why I was showing that if black exchanges this, now if black, if white exchanges this, now if white cuts, black Atari's this way, not this way. Because this time, this is not sacrifice. This is just capturing white, right? Whereas without this bad exchange here, if white cuts and black Atari's this way, black actually dies. Because right now, this exchange, like right now, this exchange by white would be terrible because now black has ladder. So don't do this, but just cut and just, you know, play. Yeah. So black has to Atari down, and white goes down to make the sacrifice a little bit bigger. Still, black cannot play on this side really because of this push and Atari and hane. There's other variations that could happen, but it's always bad for black. Yeah. So even if black, like plays like this, yeah, I'm not sure maybe if white should Atari here, but still, even if white just fixes, right, black has to spend more moves. And even if black could cleanly live and kill this, this stone is getting like into a terrible position now, and white got strong. There's just all kinds of bad here. Yeah. So we can spend all day, you know, going into the details here, but instead, let's just have black playing the best move, which is to block here. But if black does block this side, right, or play here, just make sure you don't Atari here, because then now black's able to block this cleanly, and there is like weird stuff left, but you know, you're helping black by playing this, so just turn instead. Because when you play this, right, you're making all the liberties unite here, right? All the black stones unite into one group. But if it's like this and you push, the single black stone is down to 2 liberties. So you always want those liberty shortages. So you could always Atari later, so just push first. That way, right now, black cannot block because there's Atari, right? But if you Atari first, now black can block, right? Because this cut can just be captured. So, yeah. So here's the sequence. Cut, go down, and then now you Atari here, right? Because now you lose nothing from Atari. Like, you're about to lose these stones anyway, and there's no agi inside here. It's just going to be points, right? So now you have no reason not to Atari this. And now you also get forcing moves here. 1, 2, like this, and then just fix. Yeah, even this cut doesn't work. There's like a working net. Yeah, this net works. Even this net works because after this you can re-net, and then it turns into a queen's nest. So this net and then re-net. But also just don't worry, you can just use this net in the first place, and this works. Black cannot escape. Okay, so basically this cut doesn't work, so that's why instead of connect solid, tiger mouth is better here. In general, by the way, let me give you guys a quick go tip. Let me know in the comments if this helps you. Like, a lot of time when your opponent, let's say you have a shape like this, right? And your opponent plays here. A lot of you guys will like protect like this, or like this, or like this, or maybe even a little bit more resisting like this. But to be honest, most of those are still bad here. Because you still, for example, let's say this happens, you know, black still makes you into an empty triangle. So, right, and if you cut, then all kinds of bad things could happen here, like Atari, connect, Atari, and then, you know, some weird fighting here. Or maybe black just even sacrifices like this and gets a lot of forcing moves. So a better way to play here is to counterattack like this. Because in fact, this group is out, this group is out, it's very easy to fight, and both of these black groups are actually very weak. So it's very easy to fight here actually if you play this one. Notice that for black to cut you, not only black is in a lot of danger here of like risking like nets and stuff, right? Getting netted or yeah, getting captured or getting attacked, but notice that black is playing like all these neutral points, which is like 2 moves just to create the cut and very short on liberties, and also they're like dame, right? They're like not getting any points or any eye shape or any like much of anything except just cutting you. So it's very slow for black, right? Like after you play here to counterattack, they still haven't even cut you yet. It's just like what I showed earlier, right? About here, and then this one, and then we added some stones here, and then it's like, okay, instead of blocking with empty triangle, you extend and extend and extend, and then by the time black cuts you, they gave you so many stones which affect the outside, and all of their stones inside are just total dame, total useless, right? Useless stones. So same concept. So cut, go down, Atari, hane, Atari, and then fix. And remember how when I was showing white's terrible exchange here, we counted this as 16 points. So it's 12, yeah, 16. The really interesting thing here you might find amusing is that at the end of the sacrifice here, black is actually down to 13 points. Yeah, if you count this, right, it's going to be 8, 9, 10, 11, and then 2 captures makes 13. So black actually lost 3 points from this sequence. And in addition to losing 3 points, we wrapped all the way around this side, right, with our white stones. But originally, if we did this bad exchange, now we cannot hane because they just cut us. And this A cut doesn't do anything, right? Because they just easily ladder us. So we just get cut, and in fact, our hane here is going to be overplay. So we have to extend actually. Yeah, and so black is like so much better here because the other one, we reduce it to 13 and we wrap all the way around and block off the side here. So it's actually a pretty cool, amazing technique. Yeah. So in general, white's better here. And they can't even peep here easily because you counterattack. So yeah, it's pretty good for white. White gets very thick. So that's going to be method number 1. I'll go a little bit faster now to show you guys the other 2 methods so that the video doesn't become too long. So the other method is to counter hane like this. First of all, you might be worried about if they come through like this, right? The really cool thing here is that you can actually treat these stones kind of lightly and just go after the 1 stone for now. So you capture, and then if black plays here to start finishing off your 2 stones, you can calmly just play here. You settled this group and you're pretty strong. You have a follow-up Atari, and these 2 stones are not even dead yet. So like in the future, when you wanted to, you could, you slide here, or, even just like this, it's possible to start living. So there's a lot of agi still with these 2 stones. There's all kinds of ways to do it. Like there's hane, there's this. Like depending on the game and the nearby positions, there's all kinds of ways to sacrifice or revive these 2 stones. Not to mention this annoying Atari at A is coming too. So black feels weird here. If black descends, right, to take the corner and sort of prevent that, now you have some good ways to just come out with this, right? I'll show you a couple ways to come out with this that's kind of neat. So first of all, this way, if black cuts, you can actually just sacrifice like this. It's actually pretty terrible for black. Black gained a little bit more territory there, but this thing got horribly brutalized, this stone. Yeah, so this is really good for white. So black shouldn't do that. Maybe instead black should peep like this. Another method for white, which I actually came up with it because I had been shown this kind of technique a long time ago. in my first year of playing Go, 2006. I remember, and then it turns out I think when I checked AI or something, it was like pretty legit, which is to hane once here. Of course, you have to think about whether black has some counterattack. Depends on the board, right? But if you're in a position where you think that this one forces this one, because of course, if black ignores it, you're gonna have an annoying follow-up peep, and then like this black group is getting a bit sketchy, life and death, right? So assuming that black blocks, now you can play here. And the interesting thing with this is if black starts trying to cut us, whatever way, like here or like whatever, we have Atari now, thanks to this exchange here, right? That took away the liberties of these 5 stones. So this one is just to take away black's liberty and then make a net. And then after push and cut, we can squeeze. And then we could just go out like this, right? And if black cuts, it's just terrible for black. We can just sacrifice and then focus on like out here. Sometimes you could even connect it to then get more sacrifice moves, which is even very amazing for white. You have to think about though whether black could do this. Looks like white can play this way though. Yeah, white's getting a lot of forcing moves out of that sacrifice, a lot of outside. So it's awesome. All of these variations look awesome for white. So black should not play this kind of cut. Therefore, white can fight around here. Yeah. And not to mention, later on, if white gets to connect this, black might be dead here. It's a small L shape in the corner. Yeah. So in fact, maybe black has to like take this. So that's quite nice for white. Yeah. So this is like a kind of a cool technique here. Yeah, setting up this net because we made black go down to 3 liberties. So yeah, all in all, I think like all of these variations are pretty nice for white in my opinion. Yeah, and in case you're wondering, this combo of attach and hane is the most often highest preference I see from AI. Although they're all usually fine and they all have their situations and their pros and cons. If black just connects, then we can probably also just play like this, depending on the situation. Sometimes we might have to play here. It just depends on like what's going on. Yep. So it's pretty nice for whites. If black Ataris this one, by the way, you don't have to worry, because if black does anything on this side, they're gonna lose their whole corner and it's gonna be extremely terrible for black. Yeah, maybe even black gets gote. Yeah, like even if we don't have the ladder, we just extend and it's fine. These groups are pretty healthy. So black's usually not going to Atari here. So it's mainly just this Atari. And then all we have to do is trade by just focusing on this one stone. And like that. So that's the method of attach and hane. Finally, we have double approach. Double approach is going to be very similar to the attach and hane method in that we might be sacrificing these 2. So black's there's a lot of ways black could play here. So you always, like anything in Go, have to just adapt. You can't just memorize everything. That's why understanding the moves on a deep level, like, oh, why is that hane exchanged? Oh, it's because it takes away a liberty and prepares for this later, this net thing, right? Or like, oh, why do we peep in this place at this exact timing? Oh, because if we peep now, we can get a response. If we peep 5 moves later, they will respond differently and more efficiently, like that kind of thing. So when you dig into very deeply the meaning of each move, not only you understand and remember the joseki, the sequence much better, but your entire Go gets way stronger, because just like I do in front of you and in front of my students all the time, like you can actually take techniques that you learned from joseki and apply them in completely different situations because you understand the techniques and they're part of your arsenal. They're part of you've got that tool in your belt from proper study, right? That's why studying joseki doesn't just teach you the one joseki. If it does, then you're doing it wrong. Okay, so black attaches. that's the only one we're going to cover for now, just to keep this video reasonable. So this is an obvious way to separate white's groups, right? If black plays something like this, you can just jump and it'll be fine. Yeah, so attach, hane, extend. Now this peep is very painful, right? If black tries to block, then you can push and cut. So yeah, so black connects and then white pushes again and hane. And again, like if black surrounds like this, white's not dead yet at all. And also has a super annoying Atari. Especially if white is planning to sacrifice these two. Like let's say that that somehow the two stones are already dead, then it's a perfect time to do this Atari. And then still we have ways to poke around to keep threatening cutting and different things later on in the game, using the agi of these two stones. Like if white has some buildup of stones here, for example, right? Let's say, right, later in the game, let's say something like this, then something could happen, right? Like peep and push and cut, you know, and it could maybe these die, or maybe this cut happens next and then these die. Like all kinds of crazy things can happen. Yeah, it just depends on the position. So you just leave it. It's just some agi, right? But we don't know how it's going to be used and if it's going to be used. And even if it's never used, it doesn't mean that white is bad, because white got a huge corner here and still, you know, these stones were not dead yet, because who knows what happens on this side, right? Does white resurrect it directly later on, or slide, or sacrifice in this kind of way? Like depends, right? So yeah. So I think white's pretty happy. So yeah, attach and hane and extend, which is a basic Go pattern that you see everywhere, by the way. Attach, hane, extend, push in, block. But in this case, the block is dangerous. So black usually goes here, and then white pushes in again, hane, and then black figures out what to play next around here. So in general, I do not recommend you guys to do this pincer unless you already have like any kind of pincer around here, unless you already have a reinforcement, right? Obviously, if you did a reinforcement somewhere here and then white omits a move, then of course you could play some pincer. Yeah. So I'll show it one more time really quickly, everything. So attach, hane, extend, push, and then cut. And then sacrifice like this. And then voila. White is good. And the other method, and of course I showed, right, like you could go here, but maybe black cuts, and we talked about that with some tips there. Or you just play like this, and then black plays here, you pincer. So that's possible too. Anyway, the other method is attach and hane. Black will usually break out like this, but then white can just calmly capture this one stone. And then these two stones will have plenty of agi. And if black does take this, then it's probably a good time to immediately mobilize these. With one method being just like this. Yeah. Or maybe sometimes could be like this, which is very powerful, but you need to watch out that maybe black just has a better way to respond. And then maybe white can live like on the edge now, but be careful with this group, right? Maybe this group gets weak. So it all depends on the board position. You have to think for yourself. So this one, if black peeps, maybe we don't fix, but just fix like this. If we fix like this, then black can cut, and we're kind of a stick, and we're getting kind of like heavy. So maybe just instead reinforce like this to expand our potential here. If black wants to cut, then let them cut and capture the two stones, because they already spent so many moves. Like, not only they spent this move and gave us this, but like these two stones are also in almost the same place, right? It's not that efficient. So now it's okay that we lose the two stones. So now even if you just imagine white around here, it's pretty okay. Because white doesn't have to play there either. They have Sente to play anything. But yeah, there's good potential on the top now. And the points here, it's not that crazy, right? It's 4, 9 plus 10, 19. It's about 20 points. Yeah, it's not too crazy. But anyway, white has options, right? Like if that's too much territory for black, then you don't play that way, right? You play a different way. Like you play this way, for example, or you play immediately here, for example. So it just depends. And finally, double approach, which is just like, I mean, there's all kinds of ways black could play, like this, but let's say black attaches, then we're gonna hane, push, hane, and then, yeah. And then we have this this Atari after. So if black plays here though, right, then we can definitely fight somehow. Easy peasy. And whether you think it's a good idea to do so, again, is completely dependent on the whole board. Like maybe push is the better choice, right? Or maybe like slide. So it depends. You're on your own for that. Yeah, so anyway, that's gonna be that. Another video for today. Another one tomorrow. So check out BenQ League. I would urge you for your own sake, and we would welcome you warmly there. And also, of course, I'm taking on one-on-one students, private students, even if you want it to be completely without BenQ League, without classes. That option is available on Coffee. Okay. So yeah, thanks for watching my video. Really appreciate comments and likes and all that, as it helps the algorithm and my channel grow. And yeah, it encourages me and supports me making more videos. And I'm very excited finally to not only like get consistent again with YouTube videos, but to even put out a video every single day. So for a little while, it's going to be just these honestly like low preparation videos that are just pretty simple. I just kind of jump on OGS with an idea and hit record, right? But after I get some more work done behind the scenes, it's going to get more varied. You're going to have more like high prep videos, and you're going to have like maybe events footage type stuff, but especially like Twitch footage. Some of the lessons I do will come on here. I might be also uploading my NAOL, North American Online League, review videos here as well. I see some other YouTubers doing that, so I'm like, might as well. Yeah, why not? More content, right? Okay, so that's going to be that. Thanks for watching. I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye-bye.